Good morning, everyone. Just waiting for a few more minutes for participants to be able to join us. But hi there, we're here. Welcome this morning to our webinar. Just giving it a few more moments. Okay, we might make a start. Good morning, everyone. My name is Viv. Some of you might already know me from Melbourne Integrative Oncology Group. I'm just briefly here to create an introduction. Today, our guest speaker is Lou Coles from Mind Body Health Solutions. She is an EFT coach, so something that you guys might know as tapping, which is a beautiful technique that we wanted to share with you. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Lou.
Thank you. Thanks, Viv. And thank you very much for inviting me to share this with your community. So I really appreciate that. And I hope it helps. So, well, hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. We'll be here for just an hour of your time. And thank you for, connecting and joining in. So I'll let you know my plan first, so you know that how we're going to run today, okay? I guess I'll do a quick introduction of myself and what EFT tapping is, so that you've got some idea of why you're here and what this weird tapping thing is that we do and why would you want to do that. So I'll also talk a little bit about how we support people that are going through that cancer journey, because there's many very different ways at all the different stages along the way. And then my main aim for today is to teach you how to tap for yourself. So it can be used as a self-help tool, and it's amazing. You can clear so much emotion and uncomfortable, difficult, painful things. And you can do that yourself with the simple technique that I teach you today. So I'd like to teach you that. I'd like to give you an experience of that. And then I really enjoy question and answer, because it brings up lots of questions. And I love being able to answer those questions because nowadays we have such a large amount of research behind tapping and how it affects the body and the brain and what we're actually doing when we tap and why it's working. So I'm always up for questions. So looks like we've got a few people here already today. And just so you know, I'm not quite accustomed to doing this without being able to see your face. It is something we're trained to do by telephone, but I'm so used to video these days. I work online by video, and so I'll try and be quite specific when we go through the tapping as to how it's working. Yeah, if you do have anything you want to say or contribute, and I'll try and get your input along the way, I'd be really keen to hear it. Then use the chat box, and it's probably best to keep it all in the chat box, actually, rather than me having to go through questions and answers and chat. But Viv will be checking that along the way too. So I will most likely leave the questions and answers until after we've done the tapping, because there's so many questions that come up beforehand, and often once you do the tapping, it actually makes sense and you understand how it works and what's going on. But if you've got little questions along the way, if you want some clarification, then just pop it in the chat box, okay? So I'll share my PowerPoint slides that I've created. They're just simple, just to keep us on track so we know what we're up to. Okay, so I hope that you can all see that, and I'll bring up my chat box so that if I can't see my chat box, there we go. Okay, so I've got my chat box there. So yes, that's what we're here for today, an introduction to EFT tapping. So let's move right along. Okay, let's first, I guess, go to what is tapping. That's probably the biggest question that you have, because we call it EFT and it sounds like a financial transaction, doesn't it? What it stands for is emotional freedom techniques. And that was the name given to it back in the 70s, 80s when it was first developed, because it was noted that its biggest effect is that by tapping, you get freedom from all these difficult emotions. So you just constantly keep tapping and you just end up with so much more emotional freedom, much bigger range of emotions that you can deal with. So I guess it's a resilience tool, very much so. I also see it because I've done a lot of my own mindfulness practice. It's like mindfulness on steroids. So it's very much a mindfulness practice. You really can't do EFT if you're not being mindful of your body and your thoughts and your feelings, and you're not in the present moment. So very much a mindfulness tool. But the reason that it gets the name tapping, because there's many things that are called tapping, but the EFT form is the most commonly referred to tapping. And it's because we're using this 2-finger technique where we're actually just gently tapping on acupressure points. So that's why we call it tapping, because you're just tapping on something, okay? And then you combine that with a really simple statement. And the statement, the words that you're using are simply to keep you focused on that thing that you're tapping on. So whatever it is you want to clear or change in your life, you use your words to stay focused on that, which activates that part of the brain while we tap and send calming signals to your brain and to your body. So let me know if you know the difference of how it feels for you in your body when you're feeling stressed. Can you kind of imagine, you know, that tense and that tightness and how your mind is and how your face feels and how your neck and shoulders and body feels? Some people get clenched. And then just take a deep breath. And then you know how it feels when you're feeling relaxed. Just imagine if you're lying on the grass or on the beach or in your most comfortable chair or bed and you've just let everything go away, and how different your body and your mind feels. So this is where we're noticing the difference between that feeling. And that's what happens in the body when we tap. We start out tapping on something that we're really stressed about, that's worrying us, that's causing a lot of emotion maybe. And then we tap and we feel the relief. And it's different for everyone. People feel it in different ways. Some people just get all tired and fatigued and feel a bit vague and spaced out. Some people feel tingly as it shifts and moves through their body. And some people just go, yep, whatever, I don't even remember what that was I was tapping about. It doesn't feel like anything now, it's all good, you know. Or some people get all really positive and start to go, oh, wow, you know, and they start to reframe and think about think about it in a different perspective and start to come up with other more positive ideas. So I guess what I've just described is very much a stress relief tool. So it's very well known getting very well known in the health circles as stress management tool. So when your doctor or your counselor tells you to just chill out and relax, find ways to relax, you know, and you're kind of going, well, I try to relax, but I don't know how. How can I relax with this going on in my life? It's impossible. Then this is a really amazing tool that can help you do that. And the reason why it's different to a lot of things that we've done in the past, so a lot of the time, you know, we talk about things and we try to change the way we think about things. We try to bring in positive affirmations. We try to convince ourselves that everything's going to be okay and we'll be fine. And, you know, we're trying to convince ourselves of this through our words and our thoughts. But the thing is, the body feels different. You know, the body has feelings. It's the one that experiences these emotions. And it's got memory as well. And so a lot of these memories and feelings end up stuck in the body. So this is where we tend to use body-based and somatic techniques. So EFT is one of those body-based techniques. There's all sorts of them coming out now. And yoga is another one, because the research is showing that a lot of things like our emotions and our, past events, traumas, beliefs, they are experienced in the body and they're often stored in the body. And that's often where people start to talk about stuck emotion and stuck energy and things like that. So this is where body-based techniques are very important for releasing emotions, and particularly trauma. So if you've got any trauma, a lot of people think trauma is really big stuff, but it's actually not usually. It's just as a kid, when you think the whole world revolves around you, something happens, which is really normal. Mum or dad might say something, and as a small child, you take it on to mean something else, and it might feel like it threatens your, who you are. And that's often how trauma and beliefs are established. So I'm getting a bit off track there, but those are the kinds of things that we deal with tapping. So one of the best ways to describe it to someone that's never heard of it before is psychological acupuncture without the needles. So we do work in that psychological emotional space, but instead of needles, we're just using our fingers to stimulate those acupressure points. So you don't need needles. And when you're using fingers and you're tapping, you don't need to be all that specific and precise, because really by tapping here, I'm vibrating that whole area. I'm putting pressure on that whole area. It doesn't need to be perfect. So the first thing I can say before we even start tapping is any kind of tapping will work, whatever you do, as long as you're in the vicinity of those points, then it'll be fine. You can do it in any order. You can do it with whatever hand you want. You can do one side or the other. And really, there is no getting the words right, because my whole purpose as an EFT practitioner working with clients is I'm only just trying to use your words. So whatever words you feel, whatever feeling it is that you have, you don't even need words, you just got a feeling, and you're the one that knows that feeling, and that's what you tap on. So there's no getting it wrong. The only way for it not to work is to not do it. So yeah, just give it a shot. So I'll go back a slide, because I thought tapping is probably what you're most curious about at the moment. It's like, why am I here? What is this weird thing she's talking about? But just to give you an idea of where I've come from to get to this point as to why I'm working in this space now. Yes, I am an EFT and matrix reimprinting practitioner now, and I am a yoga and mindfulness practitioner, and I have been for most of my life. So I do come from a science background. I studied zoology and marine biology. I studied animal behavior and neurobiology. So I used that. After uni, I worked for CSIRO for a bit. I worked with wildlife in animal presentations and working with animal behavior and training and using only positive conditioning. So, which is all really interesting, because now I've gone full circle. I've gone off and I've had a career as a marine park ranger and a national parks ranger, and working in conservation, things like that. But I ended up coming full circle, and after my own experience of having come through chronic fatigue syndrome and how that caused me to do my own inner work and free myself of a lot of burdens from my earlier life, I guess, I learned a lot about myself on that journey. But then I've come back to my science. So now that EFT is at the forefront of research as far as brain scans and brain activity, and looking at how it affects the physiology, I'm actually using my degree more now than I did when I was working in conservation and working for the government. So yeah, I love it. It's because it's all about brain change and brain activity and how this affects the whole mind-body connection, because that's where the forefront of trauma is at the moment, and that's one of my main interests. Anyway, I won't talk too much about myself. I do have 2 dogs. They are my fur children, I guess, and I take Kevin, the black and white one, into a local school. for kids that don't fit the mainstream, and the kids read to him. So that's what I do as part of my volunteer role. And I still get out on the water and at the beach. I live in Hervey Bay in Queensland, so I enjoy my life very much now. And the chronic fatigue is a thing of the past. And I know that it was horrendous to go through. I lived through that, and it felt like it just wasn't life at all. And it took a lot to get out of that hole. But now I see that as an amazing, transformative time in my life. And it actually forced me to do this work that actually gives me a much deeper experience of life and the connection that I have with the people around me and myself. And I just experience so much more joy and color in my life. I feel like before, my life was very rigid and black and white. So I'm actually grateful and thankful for that journey now. So I try to share that with people that are at that really hard point where you're really struggling and not knowing, not seeing your path through this. And yeah, there are ways to find your joy and find your purpose and find your meaning, and ways to get healthy and to make that easy for yourself. So that's what I found on my journey, and I'll share that with you as we go. So if you do have anything to say, let me know. Let's moving right along. And so what I'm going to share with you today is actually the clinical EFT, okay? So what we mean by that is that this is the form of EFT that is the one that's used in all the trials and the research. So we've got, just for those research geeks that are out there, we have meta-analyses on PTSD now, which shows an effect size of 2.96, which is ridiculously high when most meta-analyses are trying to get an effect size close to 1, like 0.8 or 0.9. They go, yep, we're successful. EFT is 2.96, which is crazy. We've got meta-analyses in anxiety and depression. We've got studies in addiction, food cravings, and weight, and we've even got studies. There's not a lot in cancer because it's more about the emotional well-being and the anxiety and coping. But specific to cancer, there was a study on using tapping to reduce side effects of tamoxifen. And that's something that I tap with people about a lot, is just tapping down this effect of the physical and mental side effects of their treatment. There's just so many aspects that you can tap on there to make life a lot easier and not such a struggle. So you can see that, yeah, it's been in the last probably 5 years, it's gone from being probably actually 12 years to be when the research first started. It's gone from being on the fridge and this alternative weird thing to actually getting a lot of attention in the health and psychology circles. And now my mentor is Dr. Peta Stapleton. So she's a clinical and health psychologist, that associate professor at Bond Uni. She teaches all the psychologists coming through the ranks now. And she's the one that conducts a lot of research. She's done the fMRI trials. She's a bit of a rock star in the EFT world. And she got onto it through food cravings and eating disorders, and has done a lot of the research in weight management. But anyway, she is now combining with an integrative doctor to do online research in coping and well-being for people going through cancer treatment. So that's an integrative doctor that I've been working with his clients, and so now they've got together and they're actually going to show the evidence for that. So I can't wait for that to come out. So that's awesome. So yeah, there's a lot of that going on at the moment, which I love. Okay, so how does this apply to you? How is this relevant? How can it be used on this journey that you're on? So there's many different levels, and I can only imagine the kinds of emotions, the emotional roller coaster that you're on. And this helps you to acknowledge and tap and release those emotions, especially the ones that are getting stuck, and the fears and the worries. And there's the big life stuff. Yes, there's a lot of that too. This can help support you through that. But in a day-to-day life, you know, some people have fear of injections or medical equipment or treatment. And so I had a fear of needles. I've tapped on my fear of needles years ago, and now I can get needles, you know, and it's not a massive thing for me anymore. Otherwise I would have spent a lot of energy and worry avoiding a needle. I would have done anything to avoid that. So that takes a lot of time and energy and money, just avoiding things, you know. So I find that a lot of people, when we first start working together, they're on some rigorous regime, which feels like it's just so hard to maintain. So we can tap on those kinds of additional stresses. There's even the juice that some people are is disgusting and bitter. And so we tap on that. So we know that we can tap on food cravings, like tapping away the unhealthy food, but we can tap on making food or supplements that we have to have less aversive, so more enjoyable, maybe not enjoyable, but easier to drink, you know. So that's really basic life stuff. But then sometimes, you know, this brings about a change of lifestyle. It brings about a lot of worry about not wanting to put a burden on your family or your loved ones, not wanting to tell people, even tapping on whether to tell people or not. And then there's financial burdens, how it affects work, how it affects family. One of the biggest, most important things to tap on is we usually go back and tap on your diagnosis, because it's at that point you will probably know and recall that feeling that you had in your body when you heard the news, or you felt like you knew what was going to happen. And then we tap through that feeling, we tap through what you thought that meant, and what you believed and what your doctor said, because a lot of that will affect your journey going forward, and a lot of that feeling, because you know, I guess the way I look at it, that delivery of that news can be a trauma in itself, and we want to release that feeling in the body. We want to be able to get you back to functioning and enjoying life again, even though you've got these health concerns, and that you are doing everything you can to help your body and support your body. So part of supporting your body is removing the stresses and removing whatever it is that is causing your body to be triggered into a state of stress, to have the adrenaline and the cortisol running through there. We know that cortisol is not good for the immune system. We know that we want to get you into a relaxed, you know, feed and recharge and digest type of parasympathetic nervous system type state. That's the best healing state, where your body operates optimally, and that's when your body's doing all its maintenance and doing all its normal healing and putting its energy where it needs to go. So whatever takes you out of that state, those are the triggers that we tap on to release, to get you out of a stress state, out of fight, flight, or shut down or freeze, back into that optimal healing state. So that's the basic principle of what I do with my clients, but also what you can do yourself with this technique that we're learning today. Okay, so what you do with the self-help technique is amazing. You can do a lot for yourself just with this basic technique. Okay, and you can see there that list of things. There's the physical symptoms, and that's what we'll work on today. I figured that you know, trying to do a lot of the emotional stuff when I can't see your face, I would feel far more comfortable working with physical symptoms with you today. So if you start thinking about now, if you're feeling any discomfort in your body, if you've got any pain, any tightness, or any discomfort, whether you're experiencing that now or whether that's something that just often comes up for you, then we can tap on that. So that's what we'll do today. Obviously, there's a lot of decision making and not knowing which way to go, getting so much advice from so many different people. So this is a tool that you can use. I always use tapping when I'm, looking for some clarity on something and I'm a bit unsure which way to go. My intuition says one thing, my head says another thing, so I just tap. And often I'll have a debate while I tap, and I'll figure out what's true for me and what's important for me, and how I feel about things. And so it often, with the tapping, we're often clearing a lot of emotional charge, a lot of stuckness, a lot of past patterns and habits and beliefs. So when we can clear that kind of stuff, then we can get to a state of clarity and ease, and it's a lot easier to just make those choices and decisions. So yeah, you can see there's the releasing past events and trauma and emotions and things like that. So a lot of the time, when we've been living this life for a long time, for a few decades, we've learnt patterns when we're a child about how to deal with emotions or how not to deal with emotions, how to push them aside, don't cry, don't get upset, just be a good girl, you know. So these are the patterns we often learn. And then we go through life, whenever we do have things come up, we're very good at pushing them away, avoiding them, and just staying positive and just worrying about everyone else, putting everyone else's emotions and worries before ours. And at some point, we're meant to get to a point where we can find safety and we can find that space and time and relaxation and release to process and release that stuff. But I find in our society, we're just so busy and we're not taught that that's okay. We're not taught that emotions are a really normal part of being a human, and that it's actually healthy to allow them to come up, acknowledge them, feel them, release them. So I like the idea that emotion is emotion, it's energy in motion. So this is the way I see emotions now, and all this difficult stuff that we, and the positives, the joy and the happiness and the laughter as well, they come and go. They come and go, just like sadness or fear or worry or, you know, pain. It's constantly changing. All these things are constantly changing. And if we have a tool for ourselves for those feelings and discomfort that we don't want, let's help that change a lot faster. Let's get through that uncomfortable bit a lot quicker so that we can get to the more enjoyable stuff. And so that's where a lot of the time we want to start bringing in purpose and joy, and so clearing the negative stuff and bringing in even just snippets in your day while you're dealing with heavy stuff, while you're dealing with treatment, while you're dealing with worries. Bring something into your day that gives you joy, gives you meaning, gives you purpose, and gets you in a state of present, and, you know, present moment enjoyment, whether that's spending time with your grandkids, with your pets, in the garden, doing art, listening to music, walking on the beach, you know, building model planes, whatever that is for you. So just, yeah, that's just something that I guess I want people to enjoy and bring in. And then often on that journey, when we get out the other side of it and we start getting really good results, and everyone, even your doctor and your naturopath, and they're all saying, no, this is good. It's hard. Sometimes for some people, it's hard to believe and it's hard to trust it, because you've learned over this journey, this constant worry and anxiety, and I have to check and I have to know, I'm really worried it might come back, you know? So often we do a lot of work there. And it's not about saying, don't worry about it, don't be silly, because, you know, it is a natural worry. And what we want to do though, is we want to make sure that you're trusting your body and yourself to know that the conditions have changed. The environment of your body, the environment of your emotions, the environment of how you manage stress, how you care for your body in diet, movement, self-love, self-care, self-acceptance, emotional release, that resilience and fluidity. That's not getting stuck anywhere, you know. So whatever it is for you, when you know that you've changed that environment so much that the conditions are no longer there for cancer to grow, then you can have more confidence, and and you know that you've got through it, and that if it does come up, you can do it again. So there's a lot of tapping to get to that point, to release those old beliefs and those feelings in the body. But anyway, I feel like I've been talking a lot. I'm not used to having a one-way conversation, so bear with me. And I probably should take a breath at some point too. So those are the kinds of ideas, the kinds of things that I work on with people. I would love to hear what your thoughts are. If you do want to put something in the chat about how you see that might help you, or if, you know, things that are currently triggering you, things that are stressing you out at the moment. If it's too high charge, probably don't put it in the chat. But if, you know, there's a few different ideas floating around as to you might just have some ideas yourself that you might note down out of the things that I've mentioned that you could tap on. So if you've had a few ideas as to, while I've been talking, as to anything that might relate to you, or how you can adapt that to your own situation, maybe note it down, and you can start a list. And once we learn the tapping technique, you can start tapping on that list, and you'll be amazed at how quickly life gets a lot easier. Alrighty. Okay. So let's go to the next one. All right. So this is the tapping diagram and the tapping points that you can see there. So this is where we start tapping, and this is where tapping is broken down onto just pretty much 4 steps. This is in its simplest form. Okay, so what we're doing is we're pairing tapping with some simple statements. All right, so let's start. Let's go back to that pain or discomfort that we were talking about a little bit earlier, and just really tune in and notice it. It might be something that you can't unnotice. It might be a massive pain. It might be a discomfort or a tightness, or just a feeling somewhere that you're noticing. So what we want to do with tapping is be really specific about the location and your description of that. So hopefully you've got a pen and paper, or even just note it on your notes or something. If you'd like, you're welcome to put it in the chat. Actually, it would be really good for me if you were to share with me exactly what part of your body you're feeling this and how it feels. Whether it's pain, whether it's tightness, discomfort. It can feel like a stabbing pain. It can be a dull pain. It can be a tightness. It can feel like a steel rod or a rubber band or a rock. Some people get a rock, you know, in their solar plexus, or they feel a weight on their chest or tightness in their neck. So if you've got the ability, you can click on the chat box in the panel at the bottom, and let me know what part of your body you're feeling this discomfort. And then also let's rate that out of 10. So with tapping, we get really good at just pulling the first number out of the air as to how much you feel that out of 10. Because what we want to do is we want to write that down and remember that, because once you've tapped on it, it's really often quite hard to remember how it felt before. It's hard to even connect. So excellent. So Viv's got constant tightness in the shoulders and neck. Yes, it's such a common one. So Viv, how much out of 10 are you feeling that in your neck? If you were to just pull a number out of the air, just a magic number. Oh, Sandra's got pain and weakness, loss of movement in your left arm. Okay, left arm, pain, weakness. And we've got shoulder tightness in the shoulders and neck. Thank you everyone for contributing. Viv's at 8 out of 10, excellent. Geraldine, sensation in my throat, like something stuck. Oh yeah, that's a good one, Geraldine. So just stay focused on that. It's a really good description. 3 out of 10, okay. And Geraldine, if anything comes up that you want to, you know, say or get out of your throat, that's okay too. So we've got a few different things there. So when you're tapping on your own, you want to use those exact words. You want to be as specific as possible. You can use metaphors. You can use what that feels like and means to you. And if there was an emotion in there, then you can use that. That's really good for pain. Or if there's a color or a texture or movement, you can get as creative as you want with tapping. It can be a very fun, silly thing. So what I'll do today is I'll try to be general, but just know that for you, when you're doing it on your own, you need to be specific. Okay, I'll throw a few of your things in just to show you how specific you can get. All right. So to start with, we are going to tap on the side of our hand. So this is the setup phrase where we tap on the side of the hand. And I haven't put that picture in there. I'm sorry. I do have a PDF, which I can probably, I'm not sure, somehow send out to you of these exact instructions. I'll talk to Viv about that, or if you want to contact me through my Facebook page, then I'll send the PDF to you for these instructions, okay? So we're tapping on the side of the hand and we say the setup statement 3 times. And that is, even though we state our problem, I have this constant tightness in my shoulders, or even though I have this pain and weakness in my left arm. So even though I have this sensation in my throat right now and it feels like there's something stuck there. So that's just your example. And then you finish that off with, I accept myself. Or you can say, I accept myself and how I feel. I'm okay. Whatever it is for you. So we say that 3 times. So I'll try and leave time for you to tap with me and you repeat after me, okay? So we'll see how we go. Let's go. Even though I have this physical sensation in my body, I accept myself and how I feel right now. Even though I can feel this in my body right now, in that spot, I accept myself anyway. Even though I can feel this physical sensation in my body, I accept myself. Okay, so then we just use a few words. We can keep the words the same or we can change them, and we just tap through the body points. So you can see those green spots there on your screen. We're going to start at the top and we're going to go this physical sensation. So the top of the head, the crown, right in the center. Then the eyebrow point is just above the nose at the start of the eyebrow. You can use 1 or 2 fingers. This pain, this constant tightness in my shoulders. Side of the eye, the crease on the bone. This pain and weakness, it's excruciating in my left arm. Okay, under the eye, it's on the cheekbone, under the pupil. This physical sensation I feel in my body. Under the nose, I can feel it in my throat. It feels like something's stuck there. I can feel it right now. So this is the divot between your lip and your chin. I can feel it right there in my body now. I can feel this physical tightness, this stuckness. So this is a collarbone point. So we're just on this soft bit, either side, down from the Adam's apple, out a little bit in that softness under the collarbone. It's really nice and soft bit along there. And we just use all our fingers because this whole area is really good to tap on. So this physical symptom I'm experiencing right now, this pain, this weakness, this stuck feeling, I can feel it in my body. And then we move down to under the arm. So for women, it's where the bra strap goes. It's about a 1 hand width below, okay? So it's like if you give yourself a hug, it's where you would pat yourself. So you can do the nice demure thing, which is what they mostly teach people. I tend to just do the monkey thing because I'm a bit more of a monkey. So now we're tapping on this physical pain in my body, this tightness. I can feel it. I know where it is in my body. And then we'll go and end on the head again. This physical sensation in my body right now. All right, so now take a breath and release all that. If you've got a drink or water or anything like that with you, then have a sip. And just check in with yourself. Just notice where that is in your body and just take another number out of 10, any number that comes to your mind, whatever it feels like. And maybe just pop that in the box and let us know what your number is out of 10. I'd be interested to know if it's it can stay the same, it can go up, it can come down. It's really, you know, with tapping, there is no right or wrong. It's about a mindfulness practice with non-judgmental, you know, compassionate kind of acceptance of what's going on. And then once we do that, once we kind of accept what is, often that loosens things up a bit and allows it to shift and change. So, okay, so I'll read out what's being said because other people can't see it, all right? So Viv's down to a 5, from an 8 to a 5, that's cool in one round, that's cool. Geraldine's down to a 1. So Geraldine had the stuckness in her throat, she's down to a 1. Okay, and so not sure what number Sandra was at, but that was excruciating. She was feeling pain, sometimes excruciating, unable to make habitual movements like washing hands, tipping saucepans, shaking water pans. So you can see the effect that's having on your life to get excruciating pain just to do something normal. So if you can bring that down somewhat. Often with pain, I like to measure it by function more than feeling, because feeling is very subjective. But when we know how much easier life gets when that pain comes down. Yes, Sandra, I agree. So Sandra says, I find numbering really difficult, but sense of freeing up since tapping. I agree with that experience, Sandra. I've always found it really hard to pull a number out of the air because I was such a science person. I'd had to measure things perfectly and multiple times, and I just couldn't just pull a number out of the air. And it's something that comes with practice, and you just it gets easier. But all it is a measure to see how we're tracking, whether we're going up or down or staying the same. So your feedback that you sense of freeing up is exactly the kind of feedback that we're looking for. So what I might do, I might take you through one more round and just give you the extra little bit of the self-help tool that some people forget, okay? So I haven't put it here, but it's on my PDF if we can get that out to you. And that is when it gets down low, so when you're feeling a free up, when you're down to a 1, maybe we'll work on the 5s, but usually you'd start doing this modification to the setup statement around a 3, a 2, or a 1. And what we're doing is we're just tidying up the crumbs, okay? Because, yeah, okay, life's easier when you're feeling a bit better and you go out there and you go, I'm fine, she'll be right. But what we want to do is we want to ideally get that down to 0 so that it's not actually even a thought. It doesn't even enter your head, that you're just completely free to go back and enjoy life, okay? So we just tap on the remaining feelings. So very simple addition of still and remaining into the phrases, okay? And Sandra asked, are we tapping around both eyes or doesn't it matter? It doesn't matter. You can do both. You can do one. You can swap sides. You can change the order. So for me, the clinical one is to just start at the eyebrow. For some reason, I like to start at the top and work my way down. But because it's part of clinical EFT to go from here back up to here, then we always finish there too. And this is a really good one because this integrates the whole. So I start there and finish there. All right, you can do it in whatever order you like. And often when we're tapping in the moment in real life, we might just be having a conversation and rubbing that point. Or we might be in a meeting or at an appointment, and we might just be holding the side of our hand just to kind of support ourselves and hold space for ourselves through that. And my PDF has the hand points on there too that you can use for subtle tapping. So I see the time has flown by very quickly, and I want to leave time for Q&A after. So let's just do this little tidy up bit at the end, just so that you've got all the different parts of the self-help tool, and that you can keep tapping until you bring yourself down. So you can keep doing that, the body points, the reminder phrases. If you're tapping on the same thing, the same specific part of your body, the same feeling, the same emotion, whatever it is, if it's the same, you don't need to redo the setup statement 3 times. You can just do another round of all those reminder phrases. And you can just keep doing that as long as you want until you bring yourself down. My advice is, if you're in a really high emotional charge state, don't stop tapping. Just, this is like your life raft that will cross that torrent, okay? This is like having a little boat to cross the torrent of emotions that come and go. Just stay in your life raft, just keep tapping, get yourself to the other side, to the nice steady earth on the other side, okay? And then we'll do this, we'll redo the setup statement when we're down low and we want to clear it to 0, okay? So let's go. Even though I still have some of this pain in my body, I accept myself and how I feel. Even though there's some remaining stuckness there in my body, I accept myself anyway. Even though there's still a bit of pain or tightness left there in my body, I deeply and completely accept myself. You can see I changed the ending, and that's just to give you options to what suits you. You can repeat the same thing, whatever it is for you. So let's go and do the reminder phrases. This remaining tightness in my neck and shoulders. This remaining sensation in my throat. There's still some weakness or restriction there in my left arm. Whatever's remaining of that feeling in my body. Any of that remaining feeling, that remaining tightness, that remaining stuckness, that remaining weakness and restriction, any of that remaining pain that might still be there in my left arm. Just letting go of that pain now, letting go of those, whatever's remaining of that physical sensation. Yep, so take a breath. And just check in with that part of your body that is feeling that or was feeling that. Just see if there's a number out of 10, or how would you describe that now? What's that feeling that's there? Is there still a feeling there? Maybe let me know, just to see how you're traveling. Because in real life, you can keep doing that. Obviously, this is just a demonstration just to give you that experience and for you to know you can do this for yourself. It actually is fairly simple. You've got a setup statement with 2 different parts to it. You've got body points when you stay tuned in to that specific thing and just keep your mind focused on that by using those phrases, simple phrases to keep yourself tuned in. And then you check in and rate it out of 10. So, and then you just track yourself and follow that. And then once things are cleared, you move on to another thing. Or if something pops up while you're tapping on pain, for example, you might find that there's some underlying emotion or event when that started, or feeling or belief, and you might be tempted to jump to the next thing and not get that first one that you're on down to 0. So what you do is you just write that next thing down as another aspect, finish that tapping, move on to the next thing. Okay, so we've got the sharp pain's gone. So this is from Viv. Say a 1 or a 0. Fantastic. So that's fantastic, Viv. We've gone from an 8 to a 1 or a 0 in a few minutes. And so this is what you can do in your day-to-day life. You don't have to be stuck with a neck pain or a headache. It's amazing for migraines and things like that. Geraldine says, still a feeling, but was feeling good while tapping and see the need to continue to tap. Yep. Yeah, so we've just done a really quick example, Geraldine, so you can see what can happen in a really short amount of time with just a couple of rounds. So I really do encourage you to just keep tapping for yourself. Try it on everything. Tap on anything around that pain or weakness and what that might mean for you. You can bring that in. Particularly with physical things, physical and health, fatigue and fog, it's how it affects our life. There's a lot of layers of emotion there as to how our health and our physical well-being affects our life and our function and our enjoyment and our ability to be useful. And, you know, most of us that end up with some sort of chronic illness have spent our lives looking after everyone else before ourselves, okay? So often this is what a lot of these health problems bring up. Gwenny, nice to see you. Right shoulder is almost released. Excellent, that's so good to hear. And I love that you joined us, that's so cool. So your right shoulder is almost released and it's much more relaxed. Yep, excellent, I'm so glad you can use this now to do that, and you know it's possible and it's pretty simple. It is simple, but it's just a matter of remembering to do it. So now that I've shared with you the actual technique and you've experienced that, we do have a few minutes left. If you do have questions, you're really welcome to ask questions. Please give examples of other phrases, not pain or discomfort, but anxiety, panic, and fear. Excellent. Okay. Thank you for that. Yes. So I should have put a one on there. Let's go back to the kinds of things we can support you through then. So for anxiety, tapping on the side of your hand. Let's just do a quick round all together. Okay. Even though I'm really worried about my health right now and I'm not sure how it's going to turn out, I deeply and completely accept myself. Even though there's just so many things to worry about with this diagnosis, there's too many things to think about, I accept myself and how I feel. Even though I'm feeling overwhelmed by what's going on with my health right now, I love and accept myself anyway. So there's some different mix it up examples. The only thing I'd add to that is where you feel that anxiety in your body. So how do you experience anxiety? Some people feel it in their head or in their face or in their chest or in their tummy. It can be butterflies. It can be a heavy weight. It can be too much activity and whirling in the head, whatever that is for you. So then you're like, even though I feel this anxiety in my stomach and it's just churning, I love and accept myself anyway. Even though I feel the weight of this on my shoulders, I deeply and completely accept myself. And then we'll tap through that, exactly how it feels. Is this anxiety? I can feel this anxiety. I feel this anxiety in my body. All these worries, this anxiety, I can feel it in my stomach, my head, my chest. This anxiety, there's so many things to worry about right now. It's just too much. Or it might be something specific. It might be one specific thing that you're stuck on having anxiety about. It might be a treatment, or it might be a healthy diet or something like that. So I'm just so anxious about putting all the health foods in my body. I feel anxiety whenever I do something that's not healthy. I worry about my body and this anxiety about my health and my body's ability to overcome this. So I feel this anxiety in my body. Okay, so that's just, you can tell that it's quite fluid. It's very much, my whole purpose is about trying to figure out exactly what words are true for you and exactly what the feeling is for you. So just to give you an idea that a lot of people worry about not getting the right words. And then they say, so I've got this thing, and they start describing it to me, and it happens when, they say when it happens. And exactly those words that they're describing to me are the exact words that we then repeat in our reminder phrases or in our setup phrase. Okay, so not pain, anxiety, panic, fear. So yeah, panic and fear. Okay, I'm going to share with you a very simplified version of tapping, and it's wonderful for overwhelm, panic, and fear. Okay, let's do it with me. All right, if you ever find yourself in a state of panic or fear, just hold the point, take a breath in and out, and you can just acknowledge whatever that panic or fear is. By pushing it away, you don't actually fix it or solve it. You're just, you know, putting it behind a wall, and it's still there. By acknowledging it and taking a breath, I'm feeling panicked, you know, and then the next one. So take one deep breath on each point, and it really slows down the process, really grounds you in the moment, helps you to acknowledge and process and release and move through and get out the other side of what you're feeling. All right, so under the eye, I'm feeling the fear of this diagnosis. You don't have to say words. If you're panicked or in fear, you don't need words to tune you in and activate that part of your brain. In the moment, it's already activated and you're already feeling it. Okay, so you can just breathe in and out and acknowledge how that fear feels in your body. And just, it's like you're observing it come up and go, and you're allowing your body to be a vessel for it to pass through. You know that that emotion can come and go, and your body will still be here, and you will still be here. Okay, so just hold for the panic, hold or rub. Sometimes rubbing is good for that one. And so one thing we know about the breath is that on the out breath, our heart rate slows. On the in breath, our heart rate increases. So when we talk about our heart rate, we're talking about the average across all our in and out breaths. But what that does, it gives you the power to know that if you want to bring your heart rate down, calm yourself, calm your body and mind, you can make your out breath longer than your in breath. Okay, so we go in breath, nice deep one, but we make the out breath longer. All right, and you find that after one round of that, or a couple of rounds of that, you can be in a completely different space to where you started. So that's one of my little tricks I picked up from trauma training. That it's a beautiful practice and technique, and I encourage you to do that anytime. Okay, so another question here from Geraldine. When I said the 3 statements, I changed them around a bit at the end to show us how different they could be, but I always said I accept myself. And is it important to always have accept as the word, or could I say I'm okay, for example? Brilliant, I love your question because it's perfect. No, we don't need to say I accept myself. That is just a good example of what we're trying to achieve from that statement. And I'm okay, I'm fine. One I really enjoy is I'm doing the best that I can. Another one I really love for really high charge, right here, right now, I'm okay. Right here, right now, I'm safe. Or you could just say I'm safe. So you can see with the creativity there of saying, I'm okay. I'm doing the best that I can. I'm working on accepting myself. You know, you don't have to accept yourself, but, you know, it might be something you aspire to. And yeah, right here, right now, I'm okay. So acknowledging that, yeah, okay, so there might be things that we're going through that are going on out there in the world, but right here, right now, in this moment, I'm okay, you know? So excellent. I love that question, Geraldine. Thank you. Any other questions from anyone that's participating? Got 13 people online now. That's fantastic. And I hope that I'd be really interested to hear your feedback. If you've got any observations about how the tapping rounds went, or how the that technique I call hold and breathe. Just hold the point and breathe. If you've noticed anything for yourself, if you don't feel comfortable sharing it in the chat here in the webinar today, if you've got any concerns or worries or anything that's come up while you're tapping, because you know that can happen, then you can contact me if you've got concerns. Let's go to my screen there. You've got, I really should have put my phone number and my email, shouldn't I? Anyway, that lukeholes.com will actually take you to my Facebook page at the moment, because I'm just going through a new website. And that booking there, that's my calendar booking. There are a couple of ways to have a chat for free if you're interested in a discovery session. If you're interested to know how tapping can help you, or a 15-minute, I've just got a 15-minute free tapping session at the moment while COVID is happening, for people that are on the edge, that are feeling the distress of COVID. That's my way of trying to contribute and help support people, just with a quick free take the edge off tapping session. And you can get to that stuff through, what did I just do? I'll put it in here. Just lukeholes.asme, or through my Facebook page. But anyway, okay, so Viv says we'll send a follow-up email with a PDF to everyone. Excellent, good to hear. Thank you for that. I should have arranged that first. And Sandra says she had no expectations of this course, so I'm even more delighted by its effect. Thanks so much for sharing so much, Lou. Thank you, Sandra. That's wonderful. Yeah, and it's really, I just wanted to be able to give you an experience of it. So, because it's one thing to talk about how amazing it is and how we can help in so many different ways, but it's hard to grasp that you can feel one way and then a few minutes later you can feel another way. And until you experience that and you know that you can do that for yourself, it's a bit life-changing to put the power in your hands, to know that you can shift that stuff. It's a life hack, if you ask me. Thank you, Janice. Janice has said thank you. So yeah, I think we've gone over by a couple of minutes. Just thank you for your participation. Thank you for giving it a go. It does take a little bit of vulnerability and courage to acknowledge the feelings and to be willing to bring them up and tap through them. And you build, your confidence builds and your trust in the technique builds as you do that more and more. And I recommend that you do start on the smaller stuff. You don't jump straight to the big stuff. And then as your confidence with how it works builds, and your trust in knowing that you can move through and shift big stuff and be okay on the other side of it, you'll get better and better and more confident at that. Thank you, Lou. I have a very good friend, ex-swimmer, Julie McDonald, who's been telling me about tapping for a long time. Wonderful tool to have. Yeah, thank you, Geraldine. And it's so true. A lot of sports people use this. A lot of famous actors, presenters, performers use tapping, because actually one of my mentors does tapping for public speaking and presentations. There's some high-profile sporting teams that use it. There's also some really high-profile people. For example, one that you most might know is Rosie Beatty. So one reason that she is so amazing in how she's dealt with all of the trauma in her life is that she was a tapper when that happened with her son. So she had that tool up her sleeve, and it's given, and you can kind of see that she's a person that's okay with the emotions. She brings them up, she moves through them, and she's very clear about it as well. So Gwen says, I followed your Facebook page for a while, so this is great to take part in a live session, and it does work. Yeah. Yes, Gwenny, it's so good to be able to tap with you. I'm excited that you know the trick now. I've done tapping in the past and it worked amazingly. Thank you for reminding me. This is Michelle again. I'm really looking forward to doing it again. Just started my first round of chemo. Excellent. Well done, Michelle. And yes, take it with you through the chemo. It's a wonderful tool to use through all that treatment. Tap on the side effects, tap on that fogginess and that fatigue if that's something that you experience, or whatever it is for you, in the days afterwards that is affecting you, to try and, you know, clear a lot of that stuff. So, and also I like to use tapping or with visualizations. So particularly with things like chemo, sorry, here's another little thing I'm going to throw in there, is visualize it helping your body in whatever way, whether it's piranhas or whether it's laser beams, that's radiation, whatever it is in your mind, however you see that helping your body, even if it's the actual, if you can picture the physiology of what's going on, use that power of your mind to visualize how it's helping you and what it's doing. And you can almost tell and kind of use that visualization to really hone the specific part of your body that you want it to affect. And that can help with reducing side effects and things like that, is just trying to hone that chemo into that specific part of your body so that other parts of your body are not as affected. So that's just something we do. It comes from How Your Mind Can Heal Your Body. This is a wonderful guy, Dr. David Hamilton. So yeah, another book, if you're not onto it yet, Radical Remissions, is wonderful. There's some really good tips in there. Anyway, I won't go on too much, but good luck, Michelle, and I hope it all goes really well. So well done. Keep tapping. And everyone, just keep tapping and just try it on anything. Thank you. Thank you for participating. And yeah, get in touch if you want to let me know how you're going. And Viv says, thank you everyone for being a part of this webinar. Yes, thank you for having me along and yeah, asking me to participate in this community. I'm really, really honoured. Thank you.